Board.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to Aligning with Success. I'm Mike DiMuccio, your host. This is November. Wow. Sorry, November. Sorry, just got to get oriented a second here. Time is just so elusive. Well, welcome back. And hopefully you guys are paying attention to all the things that are happening right now to gear our business toward expansion of the base of consultants, the business builders. And I mean, all of my calls have been oriented that way from the beginning. But now what we're putting in place, and I'm just gonna, if you're on 540, I'm gonna mute you because there's kind of a weird background noise coming in, but don't hesitate to unmute yourself. I hope you can.
It's my air filter.
Oh,
Good. That's fun.
It's your air filter. Well, I'm happy you're using an air filter, except it's a little distracting for this call. So I'm just going to give you a quick mute. Anyway, so I am working, as I said on an earlier call, with Jeff, and I'm going to be presenting a very small segment at the Seiko Kai for the field in cooperation with Jeff. He is gearing up to reorient the presentation on Tuesday night to be more in alignment with the flow that we're trying to create, so that it becomes very consistent, very apparent to everyone that there's a flow of information that happens. And if you're able to just simply take someone through that flow, and in that preferably in the order of the flow, then it will move them along in their understanding of how they can become something they can integrate into their life and they can benefit from and offer to others. And so at the conclusion of that flow should be a natural result, the result of them wanting to participate in some way or another, either as a consumer, which is always, by the way, always, and I want to underscore, it is always the backstop position. If I get resistance from someone where the business is concerned early on, I usually kibosh it right then and there. And I say, look, clearly this wouldn't be the right business for you anyway if you weren't an avid enthusiast where the products are concerned. So let's limit our conversation to the products for the moment. And then that sort of takes the business off the table. And it's interesting because I had an earlier call, as I always do. I tend to share the stuff that I talked about with Leo and his team on this call. And it was the mindset that goes into this process if you are really looking to focus in on building quickly, first of all. And I refer to the word building in my context, it's developing an organization of partners, business builders, not just consumers, but business builders. And I want to kind of give you a perspective on that, sort of a CEO top line perspective on that. If I were to ask the question, would you like to build your business quickly or slowly? What would be your response? Quick. Okay. And so we have to sort of get it in our mind that we're not begging people to join us, and we need to be more professional and more organized, more professional, and I think more clear about the role that we're playing. There's a lot of emotion that goes into sponsoring, and the tendency is that people react, or definitely react to rejection or the notion of rejection. So I want to hit that tonight. That's what I wanted to talk about tonight. And so I'm going to give you some pragmatic things. It might be a little rough around the edges, a little bit two-dimensional, not so soft and fuzzy, because I want you for a second to put on your CEO hat on, where you need to be objective. You need to be, really critically objective about your business. And so one of the questions that came up on Leo's call it was clear, it was coming from a point of view where you sense the emotion that that comes from someone who's trying to get somebody to get involved with them in the business, and the notion that there's a little bit of trepidation there, fear, anxiety that comes from, will they get in or will they not get in? And so I want to take a really far step back from all of the emotion for a second, come back to the question, do you want to build a business quickly or slowly? And so if the answer is quickly, take it out of the context of Niken for a second. Just, you're the CEO, you're running a printing company, and you have to distribute it in the state or province that you're in, and you sort of have to figure out how to get yourself out there. So your job is to find the people who are going to help you put this printing company on the map. Now, the slow way of putting your printing company on the map would be to start with people who are completely unqualified. They're just willing. They're people who are willing but unqualified. And you have to develop them slowly but surely into each of the roles that are required for your business to function at its peak level of performance. So if you can imagine the future, and you've got distribution through your state or province, that means you have vice presidents, and you've got managers, and you've got, you got all the people that fill the hierarchy of a corporation to make the job, to make the thing work, even though you may have started with just yourself. So go to the end in mind, you've got that hierarchy filled. But if you were going to go slow, you would be filling that hierarchy with people who are unqualified. They have to be willing, but they're unqualified, and you're slowly cultivating them, giving them promotions, bringing other people in. You can imagine how slow that would be, and whether or not you would survive is probably very unlikely. So, because you wouldn't have the time or the money to make it that for it to work. So what would you be doing as the CEO of this company with the mandate to, capture an audience in that state or province? You would start looking for people who have the qualifications, right? That would be what you would do if you want to accelerate the process. You want to find people who are capable of fulfilling the roles and functions that are necessary for your business to function, to operate. So here we come into network marketing. How is it different? Now all of a sudden, everybody is a potential Royal Diamond.
Yeah, because you're not hiring anybody. With your printing company, you would presumably be hiring the best qualified people, but we don't hire anybody.
Right. But what if you did? In your network marketing company, what if you portrayed the person who was hiring? Would you be quick in your assessment of whether they have the qualifications? Or should I say quicker? Yes.
Well, we also forget that our time is our most valuable resource. So
that's where I was going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of a sudden now, since it is a volunteer army and you see the end in mind. Okay, so I want you to see the end in mind. You have a big Royal Diamond business. You have 3 monster legs. Each of them are Royal Diamonds in their own right. How did they arrive at that? How did that come to be? Did you start with the most unqualified person and slowly raise them up? And then, of course, because it's a volunteer army, many of them quit. So how many unqualified people did you have to start with? And then what did you do, one at a time? 1 month we'll try with one person, or one quarter we'll try with one person, or for the next 6 months I'll try with this one person, and they happen to be the 1 in 100 that actually go to Royal Diamond? Or do you have that kind of luxury of time? And so if you were brutally honest and very objective about your business, you'd be clear about what you're looking for. And then you wouldn't be in the art of qualifying, you would actually be in the art of disqualifying people. Now think about that for a second. Just energetically, what does that mean? How does it feel when you're trying, and I'll give you an example where it seems a little bit more stoic, a little bit more black and white. Let's say I had a deck of cards. And we know in a deck of cards, there's 4 of every kind. So there's 4 aces in the deck. But I also know, statistically speaking, there are not 4 aces out of 50 people. That's rare in this world. There may be 1 out of 100. So let's just take one of the aces of the deck, stick it in the card. So I'm going to take the 4 aces out, but I'll keep one. And you're going to watch me put one of those aces in the deck. Now, you know there's an ace in that deck. You saw me put it in there. So now, one approach would be I start flipping cards looking for that ace. So I flip over the first card and it happens to be, I don't know, a 2 of club. Now, am I going to try my best to turn that 2 of clubs into an ace? I mean, I could take a black magic marker out and change the, erase and put whatever on it. Would that actually do it? I could wish and hope that this 2 of clubs is an ace or becomes an ace before I die. I mean, think about it. Right here in my hand is a deck of cards with an ace in it waiting to be uncovered. And we're taking all this time deliberating on whether or not this 2 of clubs is an ace, when it clearly is not an ace. And time will prove that it's not an ace. So I can put that down and turn over the next card. Now, how do I deal with the next card? If the first card is not an ace and I'm looking for an ace, then I'm going to look at that second card and let's say it's a 7 of hearts. And of course, the bleeding hearts in the crowd. Oh, it's a heart. Oh my God. It's a red heart. It's so cute. It's so nice. It's so this, it's so that's. And what do we hope for is that heart, that 7 of hearts becomes an ace. All of the hope and prayer in the world may turn out or may not. But if you're objective about your business, then you have to deal with what it is, not what it might be. And it's not that. So you put it down, you turn over the next card. Now, if each of these were perceived as rejections, or you got emotionally involved in the fact that it wasn't an ace, knowing there's an ace in that deck, that would, that'd be really weird, wouldn't it? But how many people actually go about knowing there's an ace in the deck? They simply go with the card that's in their hand and hope and pray that it's not that card, that it's a different one than the one they've been given. Go ahead, Sherry.
Well, I mean, playing devil's advocate a little bit here, I would say that, and I've heard stories about this within Niken. I tell stories about this. There was some famous story about someone who was building had a big powerhouse network marketing company, and the cleaning woman for years listened to this person and finally, said something like, do you think maybe I could join your business, and became a star. So the point is that sometimes people are diamonds in the rough and they're going to go into it. So I'm sure you're going to get to this, but to me, it's we can wish and hope, and Lord knows I've wished and hoped on many folks. I think it's about saying, here are the things, here are the standards, here are the tests,
Yes.
do X, Y, and Z. And,
Yes.
and it's marginal, because if somebody is truly a diamond in the rough, then you can't expect them to, take the stage, so to speak, immediately. But to be putting out some very discerning steps,
Right.
so that they take it or they don't. And that's really how you know.
Okay. So in other words, what does it even mean to be an ace? Define it. If you really need to know what you're looking for, if you want to find what you're looking for, you need to know what it looks like, feels like, tastes like a duck quacks. And you know what I'm saying? You got to define it. You have to be clear on what your definition is. Because if you would have looked at my station in life, you would have been bang wrong if you disqualified me. My station wasn't a representation of me at that time. But if you had the right questions, if you gave me the right possibility, if you gave me the tasks, and based on that, you saw my behavior, you would have quickly ascertained this guy is hungry. This guy wants this and is willing to do what it takes. Then you would have seen that I was actually an ace, masquerading as something else because I had not yet found the game I want to play. So the idea then becomes, how do we quickly go through the deck of cards to identify the aces as quickly as possible? First of all, define what is your ace. So what are the characteristics of a diamond or a royal diamond? You've had interactions with them. One of the reasons why I say it's important to build relationships, especially with diamonds and royal diamonds, is because you begin to get a feel for how they think, what they think about, how they communicate, how they share information, and so forth. They have a particular way of being. That's what it is really, because if you were to define a diamond, Sherry and I are very different, but there's underlying character traits that are in fact quite similar. And that's what propels us to excel in whatever the situation is, Nikan or otherwise. I am good at everything, always. I'm never not good at something because I never actually apply myself at anything unless I'm interested in it. And once I'm interested in it, I get good at it. Chess, checkers, tennis, badminton, you name it, throw anything at me. I can get really good at something that I get interested in because I apply myself. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to apply myself if I'm interested. And so what are we looking for in the character traits of the people we want to attract into our business? And then start to put them to the test. Start turning the cards over quickly so that you can see whether or not they qualify or not. I like to eliminate people off the deck because I don't want to have to deal with everybody. I'd rather just deal with the people who are really meaningful and are going to do what they say and say what they mean and so forth. Barbara.
When you have somebody that's really interested and you give them the first steps that they need to take action, they will take action. And the next thing they'll do, they'll say, okay, what's next? They're always asking to be advancing in one way or another. And when you give them another action to do, they don't question it, they do it. They're committed.
Yeah, and that's the characteristics of somebody. Madeline, I'm going to mute you. You're echoing here. It's the character or the characteristics of the individual. So that's why I'm saying, if you want to build your business fast, then the first thing you need to be clear about is what you're looking for in a person. Get clear about what you're looking for in a person. And then if the person you're dealing with doesn't possess those characteristics, you have a choice. Put the card down, pick up another, or hope and pray that that person changes. Have anybody tried to change somebody? Does it work? It doesn't work. So, and that's not to say that there's not intrinsic value in that person. You've given them an opportunity. You've shown them an environment that they can grow or thrive in. But what is your attention? What is your time going to? Being their teacher, being their supervisor, being their manager? Or are you looking for somebody who is hungry enough to become a self-starter, a self-learner, and all they need is the right opportunity, the right guidance from you to get them started, and then they're off to the races.
Recognize the fact they may be an excellent customer, but you don't know who they might refer you to if you give them good customer service.
Right. But if you're going to sit there and try and turn that person into something they're not, you're going to miss that opportunity as well. So I'll give you an example of my story. So most of you know, I've been in Nikan almost 33 years. Next month will be 33 years. And I've generated in the tens of millions in earnings, over $1 billion in sales, my organization. And that came primarily out of three legs, three. Now, if you look at the number of people I've enrolled in my 33 years, it's got to be at least 100. So if you looked at my statistics from the outside looking in, you'd say, holy crap, this guy got 3 out of 100, 97 failures. This guy is a terrible business person, a terrible sponsor, a terrible teacher, a terrible whatever. If my statistics were to tell you the story, you would say, I was really bad at this. I only managed to convert 3 out of 100 into anything significant. Or did I? Did I actually convert those people? Or did I simply find them? And I gave 100 people the opportunity. You see, that's the difference, is I wasn't attached to the 97 people who didn't turn this into something significant and meaningful for them, or they came for a season or two. I'm not attached to that. I was simply doing my job, which was to provide the opportunity to the people who demonstrated at the time what my definition of hungry looked like. And I can assure you, out of those 97 people who didn't make it, there was probably a good handful or more that was my charity cases. I would hope for them more than they would hope for themselves. And that was me learning how to be proficient at my craft. Because by the fourth time I launched my business 4 times. I went through 4 separate launches. In my first launch, I sponsored 35 people in 2 months. That's a person who doesn't know what they're doing. And they're just hoping that within that 35 people, there's something of significance. The next time I did it, understanding better now what it looks like to attract somebody who's hungry and has the qualifications, then I sponsored about 20 people. The third time I did it, I sponsored even less, and the fourth time I did it, I sponsored 3. So each launch, I got more laser focused and more capable of discerning, and more courageous at not what's the word I'm looking for? Not qualifying, but disqualifying people, because I didn't have time to waste. I was clear about what I wanted, what I needed, and I was looking for somebody who was hungry enough to do what it took. So if you want to save time and energy in your business, turn over a lot of cards. Make no assumption that you know which one of them is the ace, but have a clear understanding of what an ace looks like, so that you can put time and attention into the person or persons that demonstrate that behavior, and put less time and less energy in those that don't. You would be wiser to turn more cards than trying to turn a card into an ace, a 5 into an ace, and so forth. And so if you look at, and I have, the top earners in network marketing, you will hear one thing that's common among all of them. And this is the question that they're asked. And you can read this in some of the books, like Your First Year in Network Marketing by Mark Arnell. I'm in that book. And by the way, he wrote me up as an exception to the rule. I was an exception to the rule, because he said my numbers were ridiculous. I had such high numbers that it was uncommon for somebody to have such a high conversion rate. And I'm like, I was brand new to this thing. I don't know that I'm uncommon. Maybe what was uncommon was the opportunity. Maybe what was uncommon, my approach. I don't know. All I know is I was uncommon. Anyway, but you'll find that most of the top earners, their biggest complaint was they spent too much time with the wrong people. Well, what does that mean? What is the wrong person? It's a person who they didn't disqualify. It's a person who they didn't read the tea leaves soon enough that this person wasn't really committed to their own success.
A 3 of clubs.
A 3 of clubs. Yeah. So get clear about who you're looking for. And by the way, as you all know too, this call is called Aligning with Success. And I know Sherry is a complete heart and soul law of attraction person, the more clear you are about what you're looking for, the more clear the universe is on what to deliver.
Yeah.
So it's a harmonization. You start to align yourself with the person because you are now getting very clear about what you're seeking. And Bob Proctor used to always say, whatever you're seeking is seeking you. So get clear about what you're seeking. I think this is really, really important. And of course, I'm talking about the goal of attracting business partners. That is not to say that every one of those 97 people who joined on my team didn't benefit. If they bought products, they benefited. If they got family to buy products, they benefited. If they shared this with other people, they benefited. So there was something in it for them. But again, the question then is, the first question was, do you want to build fast or do you want to build slow? And so it's really a function of getting very, very clear, laser focused on what you're looking for and not divesting your time to people who are not investing their time. So that was the example that I wanted to use. Remember that card example. It's a good visual. And if you have a deck of cards, you can take it out in your trainings. It's pretty profound because it's interesting. What I usually do is I turn over the first card and I say, oh, they said no. I turn over the second card. Ah, oh, they hate network marketing. I turn over the third card. I go through all the, the things that happen. And by the 7th or 8th card, it's still not an ace. And I go, how many of you are ready to quit? And half the audience raises their hand. I'm like, there's 4 aces in this deck and you're ready to quit. It's like, that's your problem. You're not willing to do what it takes. You're getting too emotionally involved in the process, in the outcome, I should say, not in the process, but in the outcome. It's okay to get emotionally involved in the process. In fact, one of my friends here, he talks about this all the time. The author of the 4-Year Career, Richard Brooke, he says, fall in love with the process. Have fun with it. So if you have fun with it, turning over the cards, oh, not an ace. Oh, not an ace. Oh, not an ace. Then have fun with it. And it'll be much more likely that you will turn over more cards that way, and therefore much more likely you're going to actually identify your aces sooner than later. So yeah, definitely you think of that example of the cards. And again, it's not to dismiss people. I'm not talking about dismissing. I'm talking about qualifying and disqualifying them for your time, your precious commodity of time. If they're not willing to meet you halfway, then move on. The opportunity is not going away. If they're part of it, they join, whatever. They have access to everything you have access to. But your time, they don't have access to if they're not willing to do what it takes. So then, if we know what we're looking for, do you know what it takes? Now, this comes back to the system. What does the system say? What does it take? It takes taking people through an information process, flipping over cards. Each one is being given an opportunity to come through an invitation process to learn about this possibility for themselves. That's
Mike,
the work.
before we go to that, can I just remind people of Dave Stoltzfus, who was very successful, and he said it took his sponsor a couple of months dripping on him before Dave was finally ready to go. So when we're going through our cards, we should remember, oh, okay, just drip, 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 or whatever system we use, but people need to be given time to assess sometimes, and we just keep flipping through cards, but don't forget that it's not just we can go back to people and, how you doing? Oh, you ready? Go. Okay, now we can go.
Again, that could be just putting the cards back in the deck.
Yeah, right.
Right? You could put the card back in the deck. And then why? Because timing of the situation changes. Now, in the case of a guy like Dave Stoltzfus, or somebody who has the credentials, they have the credentials because they're already an example in their own life that they are that person. Then that is a person that, yeah, you may not get them in the first turn of the card, but definitely a person to invest time. Again, are you clear about who you want to attract into your business in terms of the characteristics of that individual? Barbara?
Sorry, Mike, I forgot what I was going to say. If I remember, I'll put my hand back up.
Okay. So when you go to the contact and invite example, how many of you have been listening to that audio contact and invite training with my daughter, Sophia? How many? Be honest. How many of you are sitting there listening to that? Okay. Somebody had.
Yes, that's great. Sophia did a wonderful job.
She really did. I think it was you, Catherine. Catherine, would you mind sharing a little bit about what you shared on the training call on Saturday? How this has been like a flip of a switch for you?
It's helped me adjust my wording. I believe I've been doing a lot of the right things, but I'm learning to do them in a better way. I've Instead of making an encouraging statement about, would you like to join me? I turned it around to, you might be somebody I'm looking for. And then they are suddenly curious and they're a little bit complimented that I think they might be somebody I'm looking for. And they seem a little more interested. I'm not trying to talk anybody into anything. I'm just inviting them to take a look. And that's what I like so much about Sophia's presentation. This might not be for you, but I'd love for you to take a look if you're interested and have time. And they have total choice. And to me, that clears a card as quick as anything. If they're going to look at it, that's fine. If they absolutely are close to it, put it back in the deck and they'll come up another time.
Yeah, exactly. Put it at the bottom of the deck, by the way. Yeah. So good. Barbara?
Thanks, Mike.
You're muted.
Sorry, I remembered. Statistically, they said that when Ben did a presentation some time ago, he said there were 10 to 12 touch points before a person will make a decision. Well, then in 2021, I think is the last time for the statistics, it was at 30 to 45 touch points before a person will definitely make the decision to join an opportunity. So that's when the importance of the follow-up. I know we spoke sometime before and you said the time wasn't right. Has anything changed that you need more information at this point? And so you just touch in with them or you make an appointment with them. Can I check back with you in 6 months and see if anything has changed? But you make sure that you keep track of the people that you've been in touch with, because you don't know when in that period of time circumstances have changed for that individual. I was listening to a webinar a few days ago, and the one gal said that she sent an email out every week. 6 years later, somebody reached out to her and said, I've been following you. I've been receiving your emails. I'm ready. How do we get started? I want to go fast. So you don't know when that's going to happen. They may not be an ace now, but if you maintain a connection of some kind, you don't know when their circumstances will align to the point where, let's go get them. I'm ready now, and I know what I have to do. Give me the next step.
Thank you. Thanks for that. By the way, you bring up a good point, and that is they may not be ready now. So a no is never a no, ever. It's just a not now. So when I'm talking about flipping the cards on the deck, I'm talking about you have a date with destiny. Let's say it's the next 3 months, your business plan. Then you want to go slow or do you want to go fast? Do you want to meet your goal or do you want to hope to meet your goal? So it really comes down to your commitment to find what you're looking for as quickly as possible. That doesn't mean that, as Barbara pointed out, that one of those people that goes on the bottom of the deck doesn't turn up a year, 2, 6 years later. But we need to be flipping cards every day. Otherwise, we don't have a business. We have a hope and a prayer. We're trying to win the lottery. Your business is nothing more than contacting and inviting new people to learn about this. And you're on the lookout for those candidates that would be ideally suited to partner with you and who are hungry enough to do what it takes to develop their own business. Sherry.
Couple of things. So, I mean, the story, what you just brought up, Barb, about being ready or not ready, couple of things. One is, Debbie is a perfect story of that in this whole dream team that has been created. Because when I invited her to come back into the business years ago, and not in my business, just to get back in the business, because she was presenting herself as somebody who wasn't doing the business anymore, but still loved the products and hadn't stopped talking about it. There's a whole story that I won't go into right now about how she ended up back, coming back to me because originally she would have been signed up under somebody else. But that definitely was a story of timing. I have a massage therapist right now who I connected with cold market, and I keep checking in with her. Sometimes it's weekly, sometimes it's every few weeks. Timing just hadn't been right. The vibe I've gotten from her is that she's going to want to go fast once she gets ready, but it's until she's ready, she's not ready. A couple of things I just want to say. One is, I think one of the best things we can do about this whole contacting, inviting, and getting in front of people is step up your volunteering of speaking. Look for opportunities to speak. We're all wellness experts. We can all present ourselves as wellness experts. And the person who, if you're at a meeting and the person that's speaking, they are the expert. And it's a great way to attract people that will come to you and ask you questions. So it reverses it. Instead of you going to other people, people come to you. And that was the whole thing with Debbie. That's how we met. So that was one point I wanted to make. The other thing I just wanted to make, not to pick on you, Catherine, you remind me of something that I used to say all the time, and somebody pointed this out, of saying when you're talking to somebody and you say, I would love for you to. And what was pointed out to me about that is that people don't really care what we would love.
Right.
So it's like, how do you say it in a different way? So if you can say it, instead of saying, I would love for you to take a look at this, or I would love for you to, join me, is to turn it around as a question. Have you ever been looking at, are you looking for another business that you could invest in? Or have you ever considered having another business or something that, but to change that verbiage of not saying, I would love it, because that's not about them, that's about you. And I don't think people respond to that.
Right.
Good point. Good point. Remember, they're driven by their motive, not your motive.
Right.
That's right.
Again, are they hungry? I mean, one of the key attributes, I think, of building a business fast is whether the people you're working with are hungry. Because they will then make time for NECAN. They'll make time for the activity. People who are not hungry don't make the time. It's a matter of convenience for people that are not hungry. And success is not about convenience. It's about doing whatever it takes. And most of the time, it's not very convenient. Catherine?
I have an individual that about 4 years ago, I went through a presentation with them, went through the ABC call. It just had a great vibe going, and then they just suddenly dropped. They did. They just dropped. They didn't say no. They just stopped responding to anything that I sent them. And now they've shown back up, and they are interested in knowing more, would I refresh them? And so I directed them to your website. I said, we've been through the presentation and you've talked to some people. Why don't you start with this website and look through some of the videos and watch them? If you have questions, I'll be glad to answer them. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go through all that time investment again, and I just wanted them to show me that they were willing to do a little something. I don't want to string them along, and I don't want to lose them. But do you have any thoughts or feedback on that?
No, I don't think that's, I like your attitude about this, is that you're using the tools to, it's like, what's the word? When you give people tasks, when you give them challenges, if they show up and they take on the challenge, then that's a demonstration. Again, what is it that you're looking for? You're looking for somebody who leans in, not somebody who's leaning away. You're looking for somebody who says what they mean and means what they say. So I'm interested. Great, do this. And then you call them back. Oh, I didn't do it. Well, I thought you said you were interested. What exactly is it that you're interested in? See, I want to know what it is that's motivating them, so I can always dangle that in front of them and say, you said this. This is one of my favorite lines. On a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about that, whatever it is that thing is? I love that question, because there can only be one answer. That's the right answer. If it's not a 10 out of 10, then the person's really not hungry. They're not really serious. So then if this is somewhat of an inconvenience for them, they'll put it on the side. That means now it's like, imagine being in a relationship with somebody and you're giving everything you got, but they're just giving when it's convenient. Well, that's not going to work. Sherry.
One more thing, I'm going to pop off in a minute because I just got back in. But in the training we were talking yesterday, you had mentioned, and I don't even remember when it was, but you had mentioned it was either, I think on the kickoff call, it was a kickoff call. It was one of your daughters, maybe Savannah's, had a website that you were saying has a bunch of good resources.
Sovereignlife.me. Yeah, that's Sophia's team, the Sovereign Life team. Sovereignlife.me. That's Savannah, Sophia, and Elena.
.me.
Yeah. That, by the way, is just the same as theroyalalliance.com /better-way. It's just, I don't like having to reminding people that go to theroyalalliance.com /better-way. It's too complicated. Just go sovereignlife.me.
Okay. And that's just got generic good.
Well, it's a very simple, have a look at it. It's very clean, very efficient. And I'm actually getting a redone done by Sophia to, I asked her to tell me what it would look like if she was, with all that she knows now, with all the experience that she now has, what would it look like if it was talking to her? So the redesign is going to be from her point of view. And I would consider her a mature young adult. So she's not your typical 25-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
No. So I think it will present a really good case for Niken in verbiage that I think we might find ourselves being highly attracted to. And therefore, now what we have is a better way to present the how. So the reason this tool even exists is because you can't wait for the next week's presentation if you're in high-speed mode. A prospect can't be interested today and have to wait till next Tuesday to come to a meeting. That's just ridiculous. They need access immediately to the information. So how do I provide them that information? I need to get it to them in a digital format. And then I can back it up with a live, remember the touch points, however many touch points, every invitation to a meeting is just another touch point. But hopefully, if we've done this right, the meetings are the same information that's layered, so they're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into their understanding of it. So we'll be using the same images. That's why Jeff is going to use the A Better Way presentation, so that they're going to see the same images and have the same talking points, so that when they visit us on Thursday, same images, same talking points. When they visit us on Saturday, same images, same talking points, but it's going deeper each time. That's how you get those touch points to actually land.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Karen.
Well, what you were just talking about was branding, and that's perfect because that's what everybody in marketing is talking about. It's about branding yourself. So I love that. Two other things. Number one, you were talking about the number that people choose for themselves. Are you a 1 or are you a 10? I ask that of my clients. I've asked that of people I'm prospecting, you know, who seem a little bit interested. And it goes back to the last Seiko Kai, which is commitment. How committed are you? And Mike, you've talked about that before. So that's the other thing. But
We lost Karen. She's in a time warp for a moment. Well, while that's resetting, the scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you? It's only to their motive. It's the only thing I can fairly ask. How committed are they to improving their circumstances? I can't say how committed are you to investigating this process? How committed are you to doing what I tell you to do? How committed are you to NICAN? I mean, it's like none of that matters. How committed are you
to finding a solution for your challenge?
That's it. That's the only thing that matters. Because if they're not committed, then the best solution in the world is falling on deaf ears, right? And haven't you felt like you've had the best solution in the world and it seems to be falling on deaf ears? If that's the case, I'll tell you what step is missing. Okay, that's a You've missed this step. You have not identified their reason. That's why it's falling on deaf ears. Because there's no identifiable reason. They've not acknowledged a motivation, a motive. So
Mike, how long should it take to determine a why? If we want to get through 5 cards a day, let's say, how long should each conversation take before we know the why?
This depends on the rapport that you have with somebody. And remember, there's contacts. Most of you guys are dealing with contacts that you have not known and you're just building a rapport with. So that's going to take longer. But if somebody is brand new in the business and they have a contact list, they have a phone and their phone has 300 contacts, and I'm asking them, pick 100 of them, the 100 that you know best. Let's put them on a list. Let's narrow that down to the top 30 on that list who are more likely to be entrepreneurial, influential, and resourceful. Those are the top 30. I want you to contact those top 30 in the next week and a half and invite them per la conversation of contact and invite training. So if they did that, then they're inviting their actual best candidates that they already have knowledge of what that person's motivated by. So they'll be able to seed the conversation with their prior knowledge of what might be their motives. Hey, Bruce, I know you like to help people, and so that was the trigger with Bruce. Bruce, I've come across something. I think it can change lives with somebody like you, an influence that you have. It can move mountains, and you like to help people. That was his first motive that I announced. And then the second motive, I think you might not be opposed to making some extra money. That was the second motive. So I threw it out there, knowing the little that I knew, or enough that I knew about Bruce, what might be 2 motivations. So I was baiting him with motivations that I identified because I knew him. If I did not know him, and you want to cut to the chase, how about just asking a simple question? If it's auditory, I'd say, listen, before we get into any of this, and to really evaluate whether it's worth your time and my time to even get into it, do you mind if I ask you a question or two? Sure. Okay, go ahead. Well, I'm going to state 5 words. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to identify 2 of those 5 words that are most significant at this moment in time for you, areas of greatest concern in your life. Okay, here are the 5 words. I'm going to repeat it twice. So just listen the first time. Mind, body, family, society, finances. Let me say that again. Mind, body, family, society, finances. Okay, which 2 words jumped out at you? So now they're going to tell me the 2 words, and then I'm going to investigate why those 2 words are the 2 words they chose. So they're going to divulge to me their motivation. And now I'm going to come back to them and I'm going to say, look, if these are 2 areas that you'd like to improve on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about that? Oh, I'm real serious. Then I think it's really worth you and I getting together, or me inviting you into an information process of something that I think would be of a mutual benefit. So that would be a way of dealing with it from a person that I don't know what their motivation is, but they articulate it for me. So
That
there's
was really helpful,
okay, good.
both those segments.
All righty then, good. All right, well, we're down to the last couple of minutes. Barbara?
Something that Ben said some time ago, and it has stuck with me, and I've made a point of practicing it diligently. And that is, we ask somebody a question, but many people are so busy formulating an answer of things that they want to say, they're not listening to the answers to the question that they've asked. So they don't fully understand what the person that they're prospecting, whether as a customer or as a partner, is saying. So they're not getting to the root of what that person is looking for. So if you really listen to understand, you're going to go further, faster in the whole process, and you'll end up with one or the other.
Yeah. Do not get into a presentation prematurely. Most people are in a rush to present Niken before they've obtained the motivation, the why. And then that's why that invitation audio is so critical. I'm telling you, your entire business will change on a dime when you start using that contact and invite process, because it's everything. The invitation tees up everything, even how they may or may not decide to give you other names is all in that invitation. So if you want your business to continue to have cards to turn over, I think it was Ben who on our call last Thursday, great example. He said, he gave an example of one of the people from another network marketing company back in the day where he contacted somebody, it was a no, but that person referred to a person, it was a no that referred to a person, it was a no, six deep of people he didn't know, but were just simply one referral to the next referral to the next referral. And that person went on to become one of the superstars in the company. And all he did was learn how to ask the right question. In a mindful way, the invitation led to a no, but an opening to another invitation. And so because of the way it was handled, that person was opening to divulge another name. And so that whole contact and invite is going to give you an endless lead generation system where you might start with 100 names and you probably don't even need any more, because every one of those people on that name list have 100 names that you don't have. And then that person will have 100 names and that person will have 100 names. So you should never, ever run out of names if you're doing network marketing the right way. If you're doing the wham, bam, thank you, ma'am type of approach to network marketing, then you're going to piss off a lot of people. No one's going to really respect you. You're not in the mood to listen to anybody because you're out to hunt. And that's not network marketing. That's just using people. Network marketing is about what Barbara said, listening to what it is that somebody is looking for, seeing, being earnest in your listening to whether or not you actually think there might be a solution here. Now, I'm pretty sure Nikan can solve a lot of problems. Can it solve everyone? Probably not. But if we listen with intent, and then we say, given what you've just told me, it sounds to me like there actually may be a reason for you to look at this. If I didn't say that, given what you've just told me, those two words that you singled out, given what you've just told me, and that on a scale of 1 to 10, you definitely want to see an improvement there, I think we have something to talk about. Now they're going to want to know, what do I know? Because now they know I know what they're looking for, and they know I know what I have. Now they're going to want to know, what is it that you got? They're going to be a lot more interested in doing the due diligence. And that's all we can ever hope for. Because if we find that that person digs into the due diligence, whether it's on the website or they join us on a live call, however it is they begin the process of the investigation, if they are hungry, they will seek this solution like a heat-seeking missile. The aces reveal themselves pretty quickly by the way they behave with the information. But to be fair, you may have had a lot of aces come through the turnstiles that you didn't recognize because you didn't actually plant the motive. The motive wasn't firmly in place, so they didn't look for a solution because there wasn't a solution they were seeking. It wasn't offered that way. So hence, not a bad idea to go back to some of these names and say, boy, oh boy, if I had this to do over again, well, good news, I do. I've learned a whole bunch, and now I know I should have talked to you about this first. So fall on your sword, go back, and remember, you can always ask for help. I know we had this conversation. You know, this wasn't for you at the time, and I don't know, maybe things have changed. I don't know. I'm not going to make that assumption. However, I did come to you for help, and you know people I don't know. So let me be clear about what I'm looking for and see if maybe you can help me with that. Now you're being very specific. So it's not a generality. Hey, you know people. Who do you know? You know, no, that's too general. General things, my mind goes, it turns off instantly. I don't know anybody. But if you give me a specific thing, who's a person with white hair, blue eyes, and has a funny face? Now I think, what do I know that's? My mind would actually zoom in on somebody I know that fits that description. It's really weird the way we work. So be very clear about what you're asking for, and then they'll be very clear about how to reply to that. Just think about that. Right, guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you for chiming in and your contributions, everybody. See you again next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Night.